Spode site. He's put on an amazing exhibition today. Mark, what's this all about? Tell us about it.
Yeah, thanks. So we're here today to talk to the community about our plans for Spode and the wider Spode site. So this consultation is for the first couple of phases of works that we're planning on the Spode site. And the works that we're proposing focus on two areas.
Yeah.
So the first area is the area adjacent to the Kingsway and the area that sits behind the China Halls. So our proposal in this area is to demolish some existing buildings. So on the Kingsway here there's a building called Gordon House. We're looking to demolish and create a new access route through the China Halls into the centre of the site. And in the centre of the site at the moment, behind the China Halls, there's a series of low-value existing buildings that are in a pretty bad state, pretty dilapidated state. And we're looking to bring those buildings down and create a new sort of paddle leisure offer in the centre of the site, with some public realm improvements, with some food and beverage, some conversion of some existing buildings that are on the site. And the proposal at this stage is to try to increase or make the access into the centre of the site through the Kingsway, through sort of the main arteries in the town centre, to try and draw more people in. So that's sort of the first phase, which is this section and this section.
This is the new proposed thoroughfare from Kingsway and its large car park. It looks as if the existing China Hall's entrance may no longer be used. Gordon House, to be demolished, is in fact a row of retail shops, behind which ran the Newcastle Branch Canal. The existing rose garden is attractive, so it is good to see this extended.
And then the second bit we're talking about is the China Halls itself. So the China Halls at the moment has got some issues in relation to asbestos and some of the existing structures within it. And we need to.
Are we in here today? Is that where we are?
Yeah. So we're in
this building here.
Yeah, we're in this building here at the moment, which the council have already spent a lot of money bringing back into use. And our plans will focus on enhancing the work that the council has already done in these areas.
This building was opened again last September for the British Ceramics Biennial. Space C housed the Fresh Talent, Fresh 2025 artists, as well as some large-scale installations. Today it has some quite small but informative storyboards, and I'm grateful to be able to zoom with my camera. In the far left corner are some Capital and Centric staff playing a makeshift form of paddle. There is some merchandise available which was free, a sign of Capital and Centric branding to come. There is good information on Capital and Centric as property developers living and breathing social impact.
And then also doing new work in the whole of the China Halls so that everybody can come in and use the China Halls as much as they can use the space at the moment.
And you're here today consulting, is that right?
Yeah, so a big part of what we do at Capital and Centric is speaking to the local community, and we want to understand not just what people think about our plans, but also what people think about sort of the historic and the previous uses of the site in relation to what we're proposing now. And yeah, big thing about what we do as socially minded impact developers is we want to make sure that what we're proposing is in line with what the community wants. So today we're getting feedback on everything to do with the site in terms of good and bad, what people think are good parts of what we're proposing, what people think we could potentially improve, and get all levels of feedback so that when we submit our planning application in a few weeks, we can change our plans now to see what feedback we get today, and make sure we're taking people's comments and what we
So that's the plan. Literally in a couple of weeks you'll be finalising a planning application? Is
Yeah,
that
so
right?
in the next month
Yeah.
we want to be able to submit a planning application for just these elements, and then with a view that hopefully we'll get that planning application approved within 3 to 4 months, and then start the work later this year, which will probably then take between 6 to 12 months to complete.
Okay. And then you'll be back for more plans to develop further parts of the site, I guess, with hopefully attaching grants and everything.
Yeah, so we're going to have to apply for a grant to do the China halls, which is why this bit's happening first and this bit's happening second. So we need to do that. And then also we're thinking at some point in time there might be scope to potentially introduce some residential housing into the site as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are slightly worried about that, I think.
Yeah, I
concern,
understand
let's
that.
put it that
Yeah,
way.
and that's why we're not presenting it right now, because we need to do a lot more work in terms of testing the rationale for any housing that we introduce to the site. I'm making sure that it's done in a sensitive way that complements the existing uses of the site, but also helps to meet, the chronic housing shortages that Stoke has.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, it's twofold, which is why we're spending a little bit more time developing those plans, so that we put real thought into actually how they can work in practice, because we appreciate, the site is already quite tight and constrained. We're going to open it up in these initial phases, and then we need to understand what that looks like in the future in relation to any housing.
And here you're consulting or working for City of Stoke-on-Trent Council and anything like houses, if they were to be introduced, that development potentially is to the benefit of the City of Stoke-on-Trent, not Capital and Centric. Is that right?
Not necessarily. So at the moment, that element of it is not agreed in terms of how the proportion of housing will work. Because Stoke City Council, I don't believe actually has a housing sort of arm of Stoke City Council.
Okay.
Then
I'm sure they supply social housing.
by social housing, yeah. So I think at the moment it's to be confirmed.
Yes.
It's a bit because the plans are at such early stages. We
Yes.
don't really know how it will work. But I think in the longer term, given Capital and Centric have done a housing development at the Goods Yard,
Absolutely, yeah, I've seen that,
and we're quite well positioned to be able to deliver housing here because we've got suitable staff.
This strikes me as a relatively low risk, high gain first stage of the process, which is a very sensible way to go about things.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, there's two really core objectives from what we're trying to do in this first phase. The first one is, number one, to draw more people to the site. And what we want to do by that is create better spaces for people to come and experience externally and internally, and then to really draw people in. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is we really want to create better permeability, to create better access routes through the site, because at the moment it's quite difficult to know how to access the site and where to go. So the two objectives are to draw more people to the site and to create better permeability, and by that we hope we'll draw more attention to Spode and hopefully build a bit of momentum that can help to create and sustain the long-term legacy of what Spode is.
Okay, Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
These feedback forms were completed by many people on the day, but the overall consultation period is short. I don't expect any major changes before the planning application. Please let us have your feedback in the comments below. If you found this video interesting, please click the like button and share with your friends. Do subscribe so as not to miss future videos. Thanks for watching.